Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 1996. He started playing competitively with the GOG Kids in 2001. He went pro in 2003 with the Ironmen. He's also played for Excessive, Heat. And in 2016, he joined Infamous, his current team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Thomas Taylor. Welcome. Finally got you.
Dude. I know. We've only been trying for...
Since I started.
Yeah.
Since I started. You know, and I always wanted to talk to you on the show, Thomas, because we started together, you know?
This is truth. This is true. A lot of people might not know that. I actually just ran in the room because I wanted to find my Ironman jersey, and it was in a different bucket because you said grab something old, and that's in the garage. I wasn't prepared. I apologize.
That's okay. Well, 2003 is when we started our pro careers, and you've been going ever since. It's 2023. You've been playing pro for 20 years, Thomas.
Yes. 21.
21 years.
21 pro years. Because 23 and 3, you know, I mean, there's the math.
True.
It's yeah. But yeah.
So, how do you do it? How do you have such a long pro career?
Well, I drink a lot of water. You know, you got to stay hydrated. As you know, running to the snake over and over for 21 years, it gets tough. So if you're not hydrated, you're not going to make it.
Are you gonna? You have any plans to switch it up and maybe play a 2 spot or something? 3?
Well, you will notice. I'll get back and answer your first question, because I know that was bad. So you notice. I mean, you watch a lot of paintball. Probably 3 years ago, I asked Travis to kind of transition over, play the middle. The team really needed a middle player. We had no one. And Jonah was coming into his own. So I have been trying to train Zach and Jonah to do their thing. I mean, Zach already had a bunch of skills, so coming back, it was great to have him back. And, he's been flourishing and just working with Jonah. So, I already kind of play a 2 or a 3 a lot of the time. And just the difference, the way I play it is I can shoot someone off the break, and then I can go take over the 1 spot still, right? So,
yeah. And
then when we need, I go play the snake. In Philly, we didn't have a snake player at all. So, Tim and I were the snake players. We pulled him off the Doritos, and I went down there. And so it's not that I can't play the front, and I still like it. And SK and I have a thing. I must get into the snake at least once every event so that I can still say I am the longest reigning snake player in the world. But even if I didn't, I still would be the longest reigning snake player in the world. But, it's a thing, when snake is your thing, you got to make sure you get in at least one event. So even if we win a point, I just got to run over there and jump in it real quick, just like it's the SK I was saying.
Dude, it's a big flex, like to be playing the snake that long. It's super tiring,
I mean, it's hands down the hardest position on the field. It's the hardest on your body. There's nothing else like it. I mean, you're throwing yourself into the ground. That is just as hard as it was 21 years ago. Maybe sometimes harder, or maybe my body's just a little more sore as it hits it. But it is. There is no other position as tough as it. I think it's to play it mentally, physically, emotionally. It's a tough position to play, because half the time you're the hero or the zero, because things go well or they don't go well. It's a hard position to play. It takes ridiculous amount of cardio. I mean, you watch one of these back players jump in the snake. Once they crawl down, they're over there like holding their knees and they need water, and I'm like, bro, I've been doing this every event like 50 times for 21 years. So, I mean, it is just all around. It's a harder position to play. So, I kind of, I pride myself in it, right? I mean, playing anything for 21 years, obviously, you got to pride yourself in, but to do that position and do that, that's I think it's a stamp I put on paintball that no one can ever take away, because, or maybe when I'm like 50, we'll find out, but I don't know who the next person is that's going to be able to do it as long, right? Billy Minacci's coming close behind me. He's right there when it comes to it, a few years behind, but at the pro level playing the snake, I mean, it's cool, man. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that style of play. Just let's be real about it, so.
Well, you invented this cool, crawling technique where it's like you start it right when you start to lose momentum on your dive, and you start this crazy crawl technique where it looks like your dive is just continuing on. I don't know how you do it, Thomas. You kind of put your gun on the ground and then use your feet to push your whole body, but it looks like your dive is just 30 feet long because you're pushing yourself the whole time with your feet.
Well, if you can master going from the dive into the crawl at the same time, you get to keep that momentum. And
Yeah.
that's why, you'll see a lot of videos where people have actually called me out online and said, oh, they sped it up. They're using camera. I'm like, no, dog, I'm just moving that fast. But I try not to lose the speed from the run. So, I'm obviously working with a bunch of kids and teams up here. I try to train them, but it's just something that I've done. And it's really even hard to tell people how to do it, because you got to think, back to Zyzek, when we started this, there wasn't real snakes. So it wasn't like we came in and someone taught us how to do it. We were teaching ourselves and making it up as we went. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, if you can hit the ground running literally and pop up on there into the snake before they can react to it, usually a couple free kills. And I like the free ones. They're easier. Shoot a back. No one's shooting back at you. You get all this credit for stuff you did. They weren't even looking. It's awesome.
Well, you have like minimal contact on the ground, right? Like maybe an elbow and a tank bottle. And then with that minimal contact, you just push with your feet, or how do you, is there a way you can describe it?
Yeah. Well, so if you think of your hips are almost rotated, right? So you have one hip that's rotated, but it's I've been trying to work on it with Keith, right? Because he's a back player. He wants to be able to get in transition, my son. And it's hard because you have to take your hip, you have to plant it to the ground, but also rotate your leg out so it can kick while your hip stays to the ground, so you're low enough. And then your other leg is literally just running to the side, right? So you have one leg that's running the entire time. And then you have another one where your hip is down and it's actually rotated the wrong direction. So you're kind of almost wishboning your hips out, right? That's probably why I've had a lot of hip flexor and groin issues over the years. You got to rotate them out. And then if you can keep that momentum going and you keep that nice little triangle, between your forearm and your chest, you really are only have a hip and a forearm on the ground, and takes really strong core strength, and you're kind of just levitating across the ground. So you have 3 points of contact that are ripping as fast as they can possibly go, and you have one that's just sliding. So you're a 3-point sled, but where a lot of people get mixed up is they slide onto a hip. Now you're pushing from the side, you lose that ground, you lose that momentum, or you're putting your whole chest in the ground. And when I teach people to dive, it's chest, belly, there, and that's mainly so they don't take core samples, right? But you can get to a point where really it's just your right or left hip that's touching your outside hip and a forearm. So you don't have a lot of you don't have a lot of friction, I guess is what I'm saying, right? You don't have a lot that's touching it. It's not easy to learn. I mean, I have a few techniques that I train people. I'll tell people on here, taking a yoga mat, putting your weight on it in best place, like a basketball court or, something like that. That's that. And try to take that yoga mat and that plate from side to side without the hip coming off the ground. If you can master that, you could probably be pretty fast at crawling.
Well, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it a bajillion times, but when you actually go and try it, when you try and practice that, it's not something that's going to come easy. It's Thomas makes this look way easier than it actually is.
21 years, baby.
21 years.
It's putting in that work. You asked the question earlier, how do I keep doing it after all these years? And it's an off-season thing that rolls through my mind every off-season, probably for the last, maybe before I joined Infamous. It's, am I willing to do what no one else will do once again, which is sacrifice, food, sacrifice time, sacrifice, other things to train my body physically and mentally to be able to produce at the highest level. And, it is a choice. It is a year-round choice. It is you even do it for a couple of years. The people that come and have gone, and how many have we seen of those? They realize they're not willing to dedicate their entire lives to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Most people that come in, this is really, even at a pro level, is a glorified hobby for them. It's not a job.
Sure.
So I understand what it is, but when I made the decision to do this, before the Ironmen, the year before that, when Rich and Oliver and those guys, give me a shot with the Ironmen, I left the fire department, I left everything, and there was no guarantee to get paid. I mean, all the magazines back there, Chris Soya, $1 Million Man, all these things, but it wasn't about the paycheck or whatever. It was about the drive I had to want to be the best in the world at something, right? So, how do I keep doing it? Taking care of the body and willing to put in the work. And I will tell you, every year it gets harder. I mean, I'm dealing with injuries like no other. So not only am I having to go to the gym and physically train, I'm having to go to physical therapists, to chiropractors, to, I got a surgery last off season that I came back 3 months before you, so I wasn't supposed to play till June, right? And I played the first event, right? Like, to train at that level, to put that many extra hours of training, to do what it takes, to get the sleep, to do everything you need, like, well, you got to want it so much more than everybody else, because it will beat you down and it'll eat you up quick.
Thomas, is it worth it? I mean, you've dedicated your life to paintball.
I mean, to be the best at something in the entire world, to be known as one of the greatest at my position in the entire world, yeah, man, it's worth it now. And it's worth it in a new way to me now. Before, it was about glory. It was about, achieving these milestones. I think back to one of those practices, with us, and I remember Yosh sitting there or whatever, and they said something about, I can't even remember what this conversation was, but it always sticks out to me. And I said, I'm gonna be the best in the world. And they kind of laughed at me. I'm like, I didn't come here to be Oliver Lang. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be the best in the world. You watch. And it was kind of like, ha ha, look at this dumb kid, right? Yosh was younger than me at the time, but he was already, Yosh. He's stoic. Yeah. He's quiet. He's a great paintball player. I mean, he's Yosh. But I had that drive then to do that, and the idea of it's worth it. I mean, yeah, sure. I could have the American dream. I could have the house. I'd have been a firefighter for 20 years. I'd probably, retiring in the next 5 years and be good and have a great pension. All those things are great, but I've created memories. I've done things that literally no one else in the world has done. And I now have a family, which I say, it changes. Now I have my son doing this, and he's winning world championships. I've got to, help other people. Like, I'm a people person already. I want to be involved with people. I want to help people. And I get to do this in so many levels. I've got to train so many generations. I mean, you think about the amount of players that have come through one of our camps that I've helped train, that have gone on to become their own thems and created their own world titles and brought home their like, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it at the end of the day, man. Like, I mean, I'm paintball, bro.
Over the past 21 years, I mean, what you've created memories, from behind the clipboard as a coach. You've created on-field memories as a player. So tell us about a memory that really sticks out for you.
I got just one. Yeah. I have my recent memories. It's always the recent memories are always the ones that, probably stick out the most. Right. But, in the pinnacle of wins, my wins over the years, my championships, here and abroad, I still say to the best one, and I'm fairly sure, quote me if I'm wrong, you're probably a better historian than me. When we beat Dynasty in 7-man in Denver, that rise to get to there and what it took. I mean, that still is probably like one of the pinnacle wins ever, right? if you're going to have, I still think it was the era of paintball, the mecca of paintball, whatever you want to call it, like the height of hype around paintball. That's the right word for it. It was the height of hype around paintball, right? And to come through and, make our stamp and be like, we're here, we can do this, we can beat anybody, that took a lot of time, and, leaving the Ironmen and creating Excessive. And that was all kind of like, that was all kind of a risky business anyways, right? Like when we all left. So that was probably one of my, my favorite win memories. Yes, there were some world titles and other championships you love and you had fun with, but that was probably, I'm gonna take it all the way back to my first, our first pro win. I mean, that's a big one for me. Like I still enjoy that probably more than the other win to this day.
Well, let's go back on that a little bit. I mean, so you joined the Ironmen in 2003, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we play World Cup, I think. Was that the first like X-Ball? Maybe it was like the second X-Ball match. But we played one event. It might have been Vegas, might have been World Cup. And shortly after that, like everyone left, right? Was it World Cup or Vegas? Do you remember?
No, so that year we started in Mardi Gras.
Yeah. When did everyone leave though?
Yeah, after World Cup.
After World Cup.
It was at the end of the season. Yeah. So Micah left, got cut. There's a couple stories in there. They probably both have weight. Micah left the team, and that was the start of Excessive. So Micah left, and he started putting the groundwork to start Excessive, and then the dominoes fell after that.
But how did you feel, Thomas? I mean, you just joined a legendary squad, the Ironmen. You find out like, oh, more than half of us are leaving, and we're gonna start some new team. Like, what was going through your head?
It was hard. It was hard, right? Because you you're like, whoa, but I just made it, right? You're like, I just made it. So it was like 2 or 3 fold for me, right? So we did that first season. It was, we get through it, and I thought the team got better all year. I was like, man, this team got really good. There had to be a lot of changes. They brought in a lot of young people because the older guard, I think, was, X-Ball was a little fast for him to start with, right? You remember that, right? So it was, and we were all kind of coming into our own. We didn't really know the sport. So doing that, being there, like, I'm in my first real magazine, my catalog. I'm like, yo, this is cool, dude. Like, we made it. We're here. We're an Ironman, most historic team ever, right? Yeah, and then after that year, Micah's gone, and then Yosha says he's going to go back to Dynasty, and he's so I'm like, well, is the team falling apart? And then Rich says, hey man, I might do this Micah thing now. Rich and I's bond is what it was there, right? So like, I was most loyal to players. I'm going to be loyal to Rich. Without Rich, we talk about that in a second. Without Rich, I wouldn't have been the paintball player I was, right? So. I'm leading that, then you have All-Americans flying me out, trying to get me to go play there. So, after this first year, my head's blowing up. Everybody wants me to play for them. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm the guy. I was humbled pretty quick, right? After that. But it was hard because it was like, well, do I stay with Ironmen? It's not like I had a great relationship with Dave. I didn't have a bad relationship. We just knew each other. I played for his team, right? So there was no real bond there. I think who's going to stay Catfish and maybe JP. Who else was there? You were there.
Like stayed Billy Catfish.
Yeah, Billy Catfish. Okay, so there's like 4 people I think
Eric
were staying.
Roberts.
So, right. So the team was going to be split no matter what. So ultimately, I think if I remember correctly, I had a long talk with Billy and just like about like what he thought his future for the team was or what their team was going, and its conversation didn't go well. It didn't go well. It was a pretty rough conversation. And well, it's just, all right, I'm gonna stick with Rich, right? I'm gonna stick with Rich. Rich, Rich took me in that off season. When they picked me up, they said, hey kid, we're picking you because you're fast. But like, I've told the story a bunch. Like, if it wasn't for Rich, Rich was like, yo, dude, go get a personal trainer. This is what you're gonna do to be a pro. Like, he actually put me on the right path. Like, so I'm doing all these things. And then he's, then I'm driving down 3 hours every weekend for him to shoot me 5 million times and then drive home. Right. Because the rest of you guys only came up for once or twice per event. Like, I was going down every single weekend, and he would just take his personal time. We would go out there and snap shoot or do lanes or he'd run me through stuff for hours, dude, every weekend. Like, so yes, Ironman was my first team. Rich, and Oliver were the ones that were like, hey man, do you want to play for this team? So, I got to play for, the most historic team in paintball, but my allegiances ultimately were with Rich, right? Like, without him, like, it took me 6 months to even go 50-50 in snap fighting with the dude. But that point, I was shooting everybody on the pro paintball field. And like I said, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got there, right? Because I already thought I made it. I was a cool kid from, Cartel. We just won a world championship. Look at me, right? I thought I was a business already, right? Like I said, you're quickly humbled in the pro league. You think you got it, and you're like, oh, this is a different game.
So how long did it take before you guys beat Dynasty? Like that excessive was together? A year?
Year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay, so picture and imagine you're at this event. It's the final game against Dynasty. Walk me through that game.
Oh man, that game was awesome. It was we're up there on that high field. The turf was up because the parking lot was like in stages, if I remember correctly. We played it. What stadium was it? I don't know. Whatever stadium it was there. They set up the stuff there. But we're up there on the top field. Stands are packed. I'm trying to think. We start from the far end, if I remember correctly. It was a weird field. It didn't have like a traditional snake. Doritos. It was kind of mixed in there. It was an odd field to play, and there was one side of the field you really just no one was going to because it was kind of uphill and you couldn't get to it. The first point, I can't remember exactly how the whole thing goes down, but we finished that thing 7-man. I think we finished it with like 4 or 5 alive, right? It was a kind of a grinder point, but like we shoot them, and as we win that one, I just remember like this switch like clicked, and I'm running down there, running down with the flag or whatever. Eggs and someone else is walking off, and I didn't talk a lot of trash back. I was trying to keep, and it was so, Eggs, I love him. He's a dear friend of mine. I just remember running by and be like, this is it, Eggs. We're going to beat you. We're taking it. And it wasn't trash talking at all at the time. He probably doesn't even remember it. I mean, he's had a million wins. There was no doubt in my mind we were not going to win the next point. Like, it was done. It was sealed. It was set. Like, I'm telling you right now, a comet could have hit the earth. We were winning at that next point. Like, it was down. It was going to happen. And then the second point, they switch up the game plan in the last second. Like I said, everybody was going down the lower side of the field because that's where you couldn't get you. No one get the top. I can't remember if it was Rich or JR. Someone switched it. Said, Thomas, you're going to that top corner. And it's like a corner, no man's land. No one would make it. And so last second, we switch. I run my little booty out there, dive, and I make it in, and I slid in, and I'm like, it's over. I made it. They didn't shoot me. So it was surreal because once you got out there, it was the rest of the team's just in trouble, right? So everybody does their work. The point actually goes pretty fast. And then just turning and looking at that crowd just go absolutely bonkers, dude. Like completely losing their stuff. Like it wasn't as loud as like some of the Huntington Beaches we won, which once again, the best event ever to win. So let's just mark that in the book. I know everybody has their events. Huntington Beach, there's no better event to win. But just the crowd going wild. I think Gary Baum has a great photo of it, just like looking at the crowd and just we had done it, right? And then we went on to beat them in Chicago and Europe. Like we won like 3 events in a row. Like, the momentum hit and we were on fire at that point, right? But dude, it was like the most surreal, magical thing. Like, when that adrenaline hits so hard and everything around like just goes boom and it slows down. It's almost like you can see everything in slow motion. Dude, yeah. It was the greatest thing. Like you can look and just see all of it at one time, like coming in. It was awesome, man. It was great, and we had picked up Glenn and Dave Baines. We had Rusty, so the team had changed obviously from the first year to the second years. But it was cool, dude. It was cool. It was just surreal still to this day. It's just, climb the mountain, put your flag on it.
Yeah. Well, dude, you've been doing that behind the clipboard too. You got the Infamous Kidz who are crushing it. They've got their third world title in a row.
So they won two world championships. They won last year was the first ever youth event that they held at the NXL Youth World Cup. Teams and players from around the world. There's 24 teams, and it was different last year. It was less organized, as in like what were the rules, what weren't the rules. So in ways, it was a pretty hard one to win because teams are bringing in very experienced, like 16-year-old players that are D4s and champions, and this team USA player, that team whatever player. So last year was both years are a magical run. Last year for them was crazy because my kids had never even played 5-man before, never played on a 5-man field. I mean, they practiced it right before the event, but like it was a bunch of kids. I was under the impression it was a real youth event. We were just bringing like youth. So I grabbed a bunch of local kids, spent 6 weeks with them. We go to World Cup and it's like, oh my goodness, this is not what we signed up for, right? They go on to barely squeaking into finals, or barely squeaking out of prelims. Really, it was just a tiebreaker they won. And then they went on to win, I think, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 straight points to win the tournament, knocking out 6 teams in a row. I mean, it was a really magical run in 22. I mean, these kids, at some point I'll send you pictures. You just got all these little baby faces that don't know what they're doing, like starstruck and like coming to me and tugging on my arm, little 12 and 13-year-olders, like, that guy's got a mustache. Like they didn't even want to be shot yet, bro. These are just little kids, right? Like they're not like, I don't want to get bunkered, right?
Yeah.
But what they did really, really well last year, and what got me so excited going into this year is I could take those kids and be like, listen, this is what that team's doing. And if you do this and you do this and you do this, and we're all going to shoot at this player, I'm going to have 2 or 3 players going to shoot at this one player because this player's killing the most players. If you do that, you're going to win that, And a lot of times it would take me like looking into someone, grabbing him by the shoulders or the mask and just speaking belief into them. You are going to shoot this player off the break. You're going to stand here in the open. No one is going to kill you, and you're going to get this kill. And when you get this kill, we are going to win, right? Or you're going to run this L route, and you're going to do this, right? Like, and they just bought in. They bought in, and they bought in, and they're so green. I think that's what's helped them. They were so green because literally they hadn't done this before, that they didn't second guess. They didn't question. They just said, okay. Thomas said, go to this bunker, shoot 12 pods of this spot, and this guy's going to go here. And when those two people come through the gap, we're going to shoot him. And then they would do it. And then they would do it, and they would do it, and they would do it. And in the finals, a couple guys had to step up and like do their thing, it worked out. So that was 22. And, like, it was probably one of the most magical things in the world. Both wins were really, really, really huge. But to say that I'm going to take my kid to World Cup for the first ever World Cup or youth world, championship, and my kid would walk away with the medal, man, was wild, right?
That's huge.
I mean, it's huge. Huge. He'd been playing 68 for less than a year. Some of those kids were playing 6 months. Just, so, and then, like I said, they're beating 16-year-old D3 players, right? This year was a little different. They actually put rules on it. You have to be 15 and under, which actually took out our snake player. We didn't have a snake player for the event. I had to go, Keith is really good at making friends. We had to pick up an extra kid. It was a different year this year. So we went to Sunshine State Open. The kids won that one also. So they have won all 3 NXLs they've played. That one had less teams. And that one came down to 101s in the finals, which was pretty magical. So it had its own story. Skylar 101 with like 3 seconds left in the there. So that was good. But this World Cup was way different. You had full-on D4 squads in there. D4 NXL squads that had won, right? Yes, they're in that age requirement, but they're that 15U. We're looking at some of these rosters, and kids have 20, 30 national events, right? So people were stacking the teams this year. Like, my kids play some local events, obviously, right? So, once again, I had to tell them, like, hey, just because you've won 2 and you are the reigning world champions, there just will be no easy cakewalk. You cannot have little mess ups. You have to go in there, and they struggled in the prelims. Once again, it came down to you need to win the next 3 games in a row, and not only you got to win those next 3 games, but 2 of them you got to win in under a minute because tiebreakers come down to time, right? Yeah. So I remember the first one first and second one I remember pretty distinctly. The first one, it was, listen, I set up 2 or 3 guns on the snake side, and they usually ran snake. Hey, if you shoot this guys, then I need, I told Keith specifically, you shoot them, our guy's going to go wide. I just need you to go through the middle and drop the hammer. And that's not really his style. He's a shoot communicator. Like, I always compare him, like, we know it's the younger guys. Like, I got to work with J-Rab when he was a little kid. Keith's more like a J-Rab. He's going to shoot. He's going to communicate. He's going to fill in. He's going to control the whole game. He's more that guy. He's not he's not like necessarily like me where he's just going to be in your face, punching you in the face, right? I said, but dude, I need you to be able to drop the hammer. So kid shoots one off the break. One of our other kids shoot one off the break. Keith goes through, starts in the home, goes to the snake tower, comes through, bunkers the Drita corner in under 30 seconds. I was like, I didn't expect that kind of hammer dropping. There was still a dude alive in the snake, by the way, and our snake had like, but all right, you made me proud. I'm over here crying. Good job, kid. This is just so they can get out of the prelims. Then the next game, once again, I'm like, hey man, the guy that goes to the short can't go slow. Shoot a good line for here, and then shoot over the top of the beam for the snake guy diving in. And then I had 2 other guys shoot 2 other snake lanes. Sure enough, Keith whips up, shoots the first dude. I see, like, I'm standing behind, hits him with like his first 3 balls. I'm like, God, this kid's shots off the break are ridiculous, right? And then he switches and shoots over the beam. Well, the kid, actually, I'm watching the kid makes the snake. My other 2 dudes miss. But then the kid's foot comes in the air, and I watch Keith's ball hit it because I told him to shoot over the beam. And the ref actually sees it, and I'm like, Keith just got the whole snake side off the break, boy. Let's go, right? So they go down, they win that. So because like they have to win. They win that in like 45 seconds. And then now they're going up against a team that's above them to get into the finals. And really all they had to do was win. So we just went with the standard game plan, and the kids that won it out. So getting them out of the prelims was tough again. It was hard. But now they have to go on one of these runs again where like they had to win 3 prelim games in a row, and you got to do you have your 3 teams you have to play. So it's best of 3, and then there's still semifinals and finals. And each time we just gave them a game plan based on what the other team was doing, right? So, really what I try to do is I do 2 things. I preach belief. I make sure they believe in themselves and they believe in each other. And then I when you're talking about sitting behind a clipboard, and this is where this all came from, I believe my experience and just my understanding of the game gives my kids an advantage because I can see what their tendencies are doing. I can know what their plays are. I can set my kids up to be up on bodies generally early and allow them to just play paintball and play off of it, right? So I put them in the position to make less mistakes and to be playing up on bodies. And we were able to just click through game after game after game, and different individuals stepping up the entire time, whether it be Skylar or Kobe or Lucas or Patrick or Macy, or Gage. All my players stepped up one at a time to do it. And then, in the final specifically, which I keep giving you crap about because I wish you were there, to see it and document it and be it. They had to go up against the ML Kids, which once again were there at NXL playing D4 NXL. They smoked the prelim bracket, went 4-0. I mean, these kids are really, really good. My kids are on their third 5-man event. So I'm like, hey, man, this is not going to be easy. So I made a game plan specific with our kid Patrick. So we gave him the MVP. You see some pictures I put up. He's our youngest kid. He just turned 13. He's short, but he's a really good shot off the break. He's hungry. He plays football. I mean, he has some stuff going for him. And, man, I just told him, I said, hey, you look at this team. They go there and they look snake, generally all three of them, right? And then they look heads up. I said, I need you, you remember the World Cup layout. I said, I need you to shoot out of the break, shoot over the top in case you can catch the dude running up the middle. Then I want you to go to that wedge and you're going to do a quick peek. And if he's not looking, you're going to bunker their wedge off the break. And he's like, say what? I said, so what I need you to do. And so we're about to go on, and my assistant coach Pete, shout out to Pete. I couldn't do this without him. He comes up and he's like, you got to tell Pat again. He's freaking out over there. So I come up and I'm like, just look at me, bro. This is going to work. You're going to go here. You're going to shoot this. You're going to wrap that. You're going to bunker that guy. He said, go around the snake side. You might get 2 or 3. Go around the Dorito side. There's always a back center looking that way. Just make sure it's a trade, right? But you try to go snake side. So sure enough, he shoots off the break, but he doesn't instantly go. It's like a second and a half, which that's a long delay in paintball, right? Like, yeah. And then I see him go. He runs up to the wedge, and he's like edging instead of just a quick peek. And I'm like, dang it, he's not going to go. We need this because we're trapped in the pocket. And their dudes are good gunfighters. They're all tall. And then I just see his little baby legs going because he's tiny, and he just takes off. And I'm like, please, Lord, let him make it to their wedge. But he just – and he didn't go the correct direction. I wanted him to go snake side and get 2, but it doesn't matter. He comes around. He dunks that wedge. Their tower is like, what the heck? There's a dude on our side of the field. We jump in the snake, and, it's basically game over, right? So game plan executed. We totally, they had a plan that they weren't losing to anybody, right? So, and I know that they have 10 times the experience of my kids. So I need to I need to shake up their game plan. And that's where I went with it. Like, Was it a risk? Of course it's a risk. Playing paintball is a risk, though, and it was a calculated risk. I thought that was on our side, right? So they go to the last point, and we had 2 calls, a fire call and a home call, something we used for Infamous. And I see these kids lining up, and, man, you could tell they don't know. They don't know. Kyle, I don't know where Kyle was at. He should have been there helping his kids. If he was there, you could just tell in the box. Like, they were so worried about someone coming through. And I told them, I said, dude, they're going to be so worried going through. We're going to the Dorito 2 and we're going to the snake. We're just going wide. They're so concentrated on you. And then we see them line up, and they line up heavy snake side. We're screaming fire. Keith murders their snake guy off the break. And then it's just pretty much lights out after that, right? But, I don't want to take anything away from my kids because they work so hard to do it. But what they're great at is just not questioning my game plans. They just go and execute the game plan.
You seem a lot more excited talking about the kids win than you did any memory of your own, which is awesome.
Bro, look at that's not onions, bro. That's a tear mine, bro. Like, it's my son, dude. I've won everything there is to win. Zyzek. Like, I do this because I love it and I'm a competitor, and I'm never gonna walk. Well, you have to come steal my spot. I want someone to be like, okay, someone's better than you going to be here, right? So, but there will be a time where I just step into the coaching part of it, right? I love coaching, especially love coaching my kids. I coached Semology this year. They finished 7th overall in semi-pro. It's the first year, brand new team. I got a D5 team that's going D4 this year. That's won, the CPLs and stuff over here. Like, I've been coaching my whole life. I've coached programs out of Texas and Alabama, and every program I coach, not to toot my own horn, is successful. I mean, they're all successful. Yeah. I see the game. I understand the game. I love the game. And I think I feel like I have a way with calculated risks. So I'll step into that at full time at some point, but right now I still love going to the gym and working out. I mean, I'm a 43 might sound old, baby, but have one of these kids outdo me. Let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it. That's what I'm saying, dude. They got to replace you first.
Yeah, if you take it from me, I will be the first one. You come take it, you can have it. I mean, I'm not gonna give it to you. Sorry. Wait, back up. You come take it, it's yours. It's yours. Yeah. But I ain't just gonna give it to you. Like I said, I did kind of pass the torch to Jonah, and he's earned every bit of that. He's taken all those extra reps, and he's become awesome. But I did that really based on I saw Jonah's potential, and I saw the need for Infamous if we wanted to be successful in the events going forward. And that if you go back and look, that first event that I asked Travis if I could play the center, we went on to take second against Impact and Sunshine State Open, right? So just I don't have to be the snake player. I don't have to be the 2. I don't have to be the 3. I don't have to be the 1. I don't even have to play every point. What I have to do is be in a position to help our team win, So at the point that I can't do that on or off the field, I try to help Travis as much as I can with coaching and game plans and scouting. I like to toot my own horn. Back to when we played Impact this year in the finals, I thought I had some pretty good game plans in the beginning, and we won that one. Went on to get third. Was that Texas? Yeah, maybe Texas. No, not Texas. Yeah, maybe it was Texas. I can't remember now. But I
think it was.
Was it Texas?
I think so.
I think so. But like that one, Travis and I sat down and we really worked out that Impact game plans. And you go back and look at those first few points, and I think we threw some good doozies at him. And I think that's what once again set that match off. So, but I still love playing, man. It's hard. You got to hang up the cleats at some point, but I'll never really hang them up. This whole idea. Exactly. I'm gonna go say I retired. Well, what's retire mean? I'm gonna play 10 man. I'm gonna play something else.
Exactly.
Do you ever really retire this sport? Come on. I just might not. Someday I might not be able to go play every NXL, right? Like I might have to just say, hey, I'm gonna coach or do something else. If I'm not, if I'm not the weapon that people need anymore, right? So.
Thomas, who's a player? I mean, you mentioned Rich a lot as like your teammate, your guy, like the guy that you're going to stick with. But who's a guy that you like to watch? Like who's someone, maybe not a teammate, maybe just they don't even have to be currently playing. But who's someone over the years that you always like to stop and watch?
Well, that's a great question. Early on in my career, I watched a lot of Todd Martinez. He was kind of real aggressive and out there like I was, so I figured I could take some of what he did and how he controlled bunkers and stuff, especially that first year of NXL. Man, there's so many good players that I just enjoy watching play paintball, and just seeing what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. I'm keen towards, always rooting on my snake dudes, Billy's and the Alex Fraziers and the Keith Browns, Mouse, right? And I like actually Mouse started playing a little bit more of the actual snake towards the end of the year, instead of being a 2. Get back in there, Mouse. You're really good at that. There's those type of players, and then the people that are just fun to watch, just in general, are really going to be like the Rainies and the Tyler Harmons, those creative, all over the place type of guys that you're just like, what are they going to do? The Malloys, right? Like, you can just sit down and watch those dudes. They're always doing something. And you're like, oh, dang, nice move, bro. Good. But someone I enjoyed watching this year, I'll say specifically, I thought Pat Kraft had a pretty good year. And I just enjoyed watching some of the stuff he did. And then he's a very passionate dude. So we shared pits with him a lot this year for whatever reason. Just, seeing that passion in his eyes. So, I think he's one of those dudes, if he can stay humble and especially just listen to Rich's guidance, he could do some cool things. So I enjoyed watching him. But I will say that probably, there's a lot of players. I love paintball. I watch all of it. I spend a lot of time in Go Sports and stuff. I think the best pickup this year, the most fun guy to watch, the most impactful dude to watch, and we should do a poll about this, Chris Shear.
Yeah.
That dude balled his balls off this year. I mean, impressive. Like, hands down, I Dynasty got some magic wand or something, bro, because that dude, like, dang, they pulled the rabbit out of the hat with that one. I mean, he balled all year. So, to me, that was probably one of the most impressive. And I'm sure he did it the year before, but no offense, I don't think a lot of people watch Revo as much. You know, I don't know
he's
if those are
good.
games that people are excited about it. You know,
He's good, and his teammates. I mean, those teammates that he has elevate people. You know, it's like, how do you not elevate your game playing with those guys?
Right. Well, I mean, if you're lining up over here, you got
both.
Marcelo behind you, and you got Archie on the other side of the field, and Ryan, and then throw any one of your other awesome dudes out there. There's going to be less attention on you, right? But you got to say, as the year went on, more and more attention was placed on him and what he's going to do off the break, and he was still very successful.
Yep.
Right. You know, so yeah. I mean, you know, I talked to him a little bit last offseason. He was helping me with some of the where we're trying to set up a nonprofit organization, Influence PB, for youth paintball. And he's a smart dude. So, you know, you got athletics and you're really smart. I mean, that's what you need to be at this level. People always ask, like, sorry, if you're just an athletic phenom, it's not good enough for paintball anymore.
No.
You got to be smart.
Yep. Got to make the right moves. Thomas, you got anything cool you can show us?
Well, you asked that. So I brought all kinds of cool stuff. But jersey specifically, I grabbed a bunch out here. I'm trying to find a good one here. So we did, you know, the last couple of years, I did some remakes. So this is probably the oldest one I could find right off the bat. And this is like maybe event 1 or event 2.
Ooh.
It even had like the Halloween print. What is going on here? What is that? What is that print right there? I don't know. Micah did it. But like, this is one of like my oldest ones, right? We did a remake of this, sold them, I think 2 Christmases ago. I just sold out my last 2 camo ones that we did a remake of. I'll show you in a second. But for those of you, you probably all know, but 2 of the coolest things were on the jersey were the hidden gems.
The troll.
Yeah. So this is original jersey. You know, so yes, I made the switch from Ironmen to excessive, but you know, Micah slipped in for 2 things for us. One was a troll just for me. I'm sure everybody in the team hated it, and then he put his ship on it for there, with a little flag for the mutiny that he caused from leaving Ironman.
I love it.
So this was homage to him selling the ship away, and then he threw a troll in there for me, and I didn't even know until we got the jersey. So that's probably like the you know, it's one of the coolest jerseys ever.
Is it for sale?
It's one of those iconic jerseys. No, it's not for sale. No. Hey, speaking of that, like, Drew keeps trying to get me to put stuff on his website. Yeah. I should probably put something.
PB Vault.
PB Vault. I could put this up there, put $1 million, and then not actually sell it. That's what I should do.
Yeah, just put no, not accepting offers. You just
perfect. That's how you do it.
Flexing it. Yeah.
Just look. I mean, look at that. Look at that. See, this is how you know it was original. It was the Halloween print. I don't even know what the thing is.
I got it. Yeah. Put that on there, dude. I got to put some stuff on PB Vault too.
Yeah, I never get stuff on. I keep telling them, but you know, it's on my list of a bazillion things that.
You got Ironman jerseys?
I have a Ironman jersey.
A Ironman jersey.
A Ironman jersey. I should put that on there too because that's really cool.
Yeah.
When I retire, I need to get a hold of Dave because I want to do a throwback just like I did with these other ones.
I don't know if they can still print.
I will get it printed somewhere.
Still have the machine with the.
Yeah, right. Remember everything was on there.
Yep.
You want to hear a funny? Do you remember the Billy jersey from our season together?
No, don't talk about it.
We're not allowed to say it out loud. We keep that one on the.
You brought it up. Billy, if you're listening to this, Thomas brought this up.
Billy, listen, you're a married man. You're doing great things. This is just paintball stories. Paintball stories. So, I didn't even know this jersey was made. Did you know the jersey was made?
Schuster made it. I knew it was made. Yeah.
Okay. See, Billy, he's in the doghouse, not me. I was just there to partake.
Yeah.
So we're all sitting there, get our jerseys out for the event. We got them at the event. Was it Chicago? It was a warm event.
I think it was like LA Open.
Yeah, it was stunning. And I put my jersey on. I didn't even really look at it. All right. I got my jersey on. And I look over just to see Billy pick up his jersey. My hands are too close. So, you know, he's doing one of these things, but he's looking at the back side of it, not the front side of it.
Yeah.
He's staring at his name. And instead of saying Billy Wing, it's not even that funny, but it's kind of funny.
It is Billy, funny. You had to be there.
It was this Billy Pork Slayer. Wait.
And he never has nicknames on his jerseys ever or anything like that. So it's super obvious, right?
Yes, super obvious.
And it's not like he hid it. Like a lot of times he'll hide it.
His ears turn red from behind. And I'm like staring at him. I just remember being there because I'm just a kid. I'm getting dressed. I don't like, I'm like, why is he?
Yeah.
And then it comes up and I'm like, oh, I think someone's dying today. Someone's probably dead, man. He's stormed off, and rightfully so. You were mad, Billy. That was messed up because you can't wear that jersey, obviously.
Can't wear that.
You can't wear that. And it's a team jersey. But
yeah,
I think there was another one for him. It was more of a joke, right? Like he had an actual jersey he could wear, right? So it was a joke. But man, I've seen some pranks on teammates that I think that's still to this day, like the most ruthless. Like, cause you're like, we're about to go play paintball. Like, first off, you got Billy now in a bad headspace, and I need him to go shoot people, right?
Yeah, and he had a temper. Like he would lose his temper sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was straight red, like glowing red. Oh man. That's what I knew. I was like, all right, I got to mind my P's and Q's because it's crazy around here. I'm not going to spit out any random Pulp Fiction lines. I'm not going to do anything out of the ordinary. I got to stay out.
Oh, dude. That was a big learning curve for me when everyone was quoting Pulp Fiction lines, and I had like watched the movie once, and then it gets to me, I'm like, oh man, I got to quote something. Why do we do that? That was a thing. Everyone would like go around quoting.
So apparently they all watched the movie together. This is the story right before I got on this team, right? Or right before I came down, they did the tryouts and all that. They watched the movie, and afterwards, everybody's quoting lines. Well, JT Bouchard says something like, "Is that your cheeseburger?" Which is not a line in the movie, or I can't remember what he said. It was something. It was something that had nothing. And they're all like looking at him, like what? And so then they go on to make fun of him. So like when I got there, they're like, "Yo, kid, you need to say a line for this movie." And I'm like, "Bro, I've never watched the movie." Well, just say a line. I'm like, "How dumb do you?" I can't say a line. So we go, and they were going on for days about it. And I didn't really understand. I was like, these guys are weird, dude. They want me to just make up a line, but they want me to make up a line so they could put it on the back of my jersey, Billy. Said I didn't do it.
Dude, the whole Pulp Fiction thing was just so Maddie could do the whole before Samuel L. Jackson shoots someone, he does the whole prayer, the path of the righteous man.
Yes.
The whole Pulp Fiction quoting was just so we could get to Maddie, so we could listen to him do that whole speech because it was awesome.
Yes, and he would get him down quick. I mean, he had it. He had it absolutely.
Did you get rid of anything that you wish you kept?
Well, if I would have known how much JT frames would have gone through the roof, I would have kept a whole lot of them. I'll tell you right now, because I probably could get out of this apartment. You feel me? But
dude, no one knew it. No one knew it was going to come back. No one knew.
Yeah, no one knew it was going to come full circle, just like the Sandana thing, right? Speaking of which, shout out to Mark because he just texted me. Came up in this little box up above that you can't see. The Troll Venom wares are on their way to me right now. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool. Is a pretty cool one. Yeah, because I think there's only 36 made for the whole world.
Damn.
Yeah.
What do they look like? Can you see them? You have one?
No. I mean, I do have them. I think it's in my gear bag. I think we have to give it back.
We'll have to wait for the drop.
Might be my IG stories. Might be my IG stories.
There we go. There we go. Check Thomas's IG stories.
Yeah. But yeah, that's they're coming in. But things that I wish I would have kept, but really that's it. I mean, there is probably one jersey I'll get back from a guy that I sold him back in the day because I had two of them. It was my original cartel jersey that we won World Cup with. We had two of them, and I in my first year of pro, he was one of the local guys at Extreme, and he bought it from me, and he's offered to sell it back. And then my other one somehow got lost, destroyed over one of my moves. I can't even remember. I lost a whole bunch of paintball stuff in there that, pictures and things like that I wish I still had. Some medals, some things from like before going pro. So yeah, those are probably the most sentimental ones that I lost, but there's one jersey I'll probably get back. And then I'm working on eventually getting back one of my, I want to get back my 05 Ego. It was like, it had camo print on it. It was a 1 of 1. It was handmade by some friends of mine in California. It has a little ghost troll in it. So someone's posted it up a couple times. They're not really willing to sell it back yet. Someday they will be, though. Someday.
Thomas, how do you want to be remembered in paintball?
That's a great question. Hopefully will be remembered for, kind of how I changed the game, how the snake is played, how aggression was. And then, probably my biggest thing in it won't be remembered by all, but you know, how many people, or how I've been able to speak truth and life into people, you know, over these years, you know, since, you know, I basically said, you know, hey, you know, it's not about me, it's about Jesus. I just have had so many opportunities to pray with people, talk with people, pray for people, help a lot of people that are just, you know, having a rough go in life. And we don't know each other, whether they message me online or whatever. So, you know, hopefully it's about what I've, you know, been able to, you know, the love I've been able to give back to this community, you know, really, truly, you know, and then, you know, on the field, you know, my style of play, right. You know, the aggressive, in your face, you know, that style of play, which is, you know, I kind of think I put my stamp on it many moons ago.
What are you most thankful for that paintball has given you?
A paintball family, man. A paintball family. You know, this paintball is a tight knit community, and paintball has given me friends and people I call family around the world. It's opened my eyes to so much, to see the world truly for what it is, and you know, paintball has become my identity, right? So paintball's given me a lot back. You know, people get so focused on the financial part of our life. You know, money comes and goes, man. But the memories, the relationships, you know, and that's, like I said, that'll continue forever. Long after I'm done playing, I'll be coaching, and you know, Lord willing, my son keeps on his path. He'll be up there holding that pro trophy there, MVP one of these days.
Awesome. Thomas, dude, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
Yes, sir. Go to thomastrolltaylor.com. Got some limited drops out there. That's where I put out my CS3s, my LV2s, custom colorways. Thank you for all those that support the Fuel by Fire line. Continue to support the Infamous Kidz and all they're doing. And, you know, I love you guys. God bless.
Thanks, Thomas.